The next morning, I went back to the Jiangcheng Profession Center. This time, I didn't go to the dungeon area. I walked straight to the Job Advancement Hall at the back. I stepped up to the counter. The staff member smiled and asked what I needed. I told him I was there to receive my first job advancement quest. He looked surprised because of how young I was. He explained the rules. He said you only get 3 attempts. If you fail all 3, you can never advance again. Each failure makes the next quest harder. He told me the first one is especially important because it affects your future growth a lot. Many people prepare for years, buying gear, learning skills, and getting ready mentally before they try. I just said, accept. He told me to place my hand on the big crystal. I walked over and pressed my palm against it. The crystal started shaking hard and gave off a bright golden light. A small crystal stone formed and dropped into my hand. Then the quest popped up in front of me. It was called Wealth Accumulation. I had to earn 10 million dragon coins in 24 hours. I couldn't use any of my existing money or assets. I couldn't take gifts or help from anyone, and every coin had to come from value I created myself. If I earned over 50 million, I could get S rank evaluation, over 100 million for SS rank, and over 500 million for SSS rank. I asked the staff member what the different evaluations actually changed. He said a normal evaluation gives 5 times the growth after advancing. S rank gives 6 times, SS rank 8 times, and SSS rank 10 times. He advised me not to take big risks just for a high evaluation. Most people only get normal. S rank is already very rare, and in Jiangcheng only the 3 pillars had ever gotten SS rank on their first try. He had never heard of anyone getting SSS rank. I put the crystal stone away and told him I understood. Up above the city, the man in black and the middle-aged man in gray robe were watching. They pulled up my quest details on a screen in the clouds. After reading it, the man in gray froze for a moment and said, "Outrageous." The man in black stayed quiet, too. They had seen many difficult job change quests before, but they both thought mine was still way over the top. The middle-aged man in gray robe said, 10 million in 24 hours for the basic quest is doable. With how fast you can clear dungeons, farming materials and equipment should get you there without much trouble. The real problem is the evaluation tiers. 50 million for S rank, 100 million for SS rank, 500 million for SSS rank. His mouth twitched as he spoke. He asked if the job change crystal had gone crazy, making an 18-year-old generate 500 million in one day without using existing assets or getting any help. The man in black answered calmly that the crystal doesn't make mistakes. The man in gray said he knew that, but the difficulty was still too high. Even if the two of them worked together at the same level, they probably couldn't reach the SSS evaluation, and even SS would be tough. The man in black thought about it and said the stronger the profession's potential, the harder the quest the crystal gives. The man in gray looked at the screen again and said the crystal must believe my potential is high enough to need a quest like this. He added that if I only finish the basic quest and get a normal evaluation, I can still advance, but for someone with my potential, it might limit my future growth a lot. A low first evaluation is like damaging your foundation. I had already left the profession center and was walking on the street. I didn't start right away. I needed to think first. 10 million for the basic goal wouldn't be hard, but I wanted SSS, which meant 500 million in 24 hours under all those restrictions. Farming dungeons was the obvious way. With my strength, I could clear level 100 Hellgrade dungeons easily. The boss drops are valuable, but even if I farmed nonstop for 24 hours, selling everything would probably only get me a bit over 100 million. That was still far from 500. I thought about checking the quest area in the profession center. Sometimes chambers of commerce post high-price acquisition quests for specific materials, and the payout can be much higher than normal selling. But even in the best case, I figured I could reach maybe 200 million at most. Still 300 short. Bringing other people to farm with me wouldn't work. My speed comes from my own movement, and they couldn't keep up. Plus the restrictions say no help or gifts, so the crystal probably wouldn't count it. I felt a headache. It wasn't that I couldn't fight the monsters. It was that one person wasn't fast enough. Then I thought, what if I could farm multiple dungeons at the same time? I have 10 money ghosts. They can move and fight independently. That means 11 units total. Me plus the 10 ghosts. Each one could enter a different dungeon. I stopped walking for a second. The idea was crazy, but possible. Normal summoners can't send their summons into dungeons alone, but mine might be able to. I decided I should try it. I went back to the dungeon area in the profession center. Administrator Liu Cheng was at his desk. When he saw me, he straightened up and asked what dungeon I needed today. I asked him a question instead. I have 10 summoned creatures. Can they enter dungeons alone? He looked stunned and asked me to repeat it. Then he said that normally summons go in with the professional. He had never heard of anyone sending them in by themselves. He didn't know if it was possible, but we could try. I told him to open a level 90 Hellgrade dungeon first. We went to the entrance of the Black Wind Mine Cave. I summoned one money ghost, gave it a big bag for loot, and ordered it to enter, clear all monsters, and collect everything. Administrator Liu Cheng opened the portal. The money ghost walked straight in and disappeared. The panel showed the dungeon was running with the entering unit as my summoned creature. A message appeared saying no professional had entered, so I wouldn't get experience. I told him it didn't matter. I didn't need experience right now. Then I summoned the other 9 money ghosts. I had Liu Cheng open a separate level 90 Hellgrade dungeon for each of them. One by one, each money ghost with a bag entered its own dungeon. All 10 portals lit up at the same time. After that, I had him open one more dungeon for me. I stepped inside. Administrator Liu Cheng stayed at the console, staring at the 11 active dungeons. He looked completely stunned. After a while, he took out his communicator and called Captain Ji Shuning. When Captain Ji answered, Administrator Liu Cheng told him I had entered the secret realm again. Captain Ji said that was normal these days. Liu Cheng replied that this time it was different. Captain Ji asked, "How is it different?" I went into my dungeon, the Crimson Blood Demon Nest on Hell difficulty. The place was full of blood mist and weird walls. But I didn't focus on that. I closed my eyes and checked my connection with the 10 money ghosts. It was weak, but I could sense they were all moving forward fast through their own dungeons. I couldn't give them new orders, but they were strong enough to clear everything on their own. A bunch of Crimson Blood Demon spiders came at me. I sighed a bit because I had to kill them myself this time. I stomped the ground and charged straight in. I punched, kicked, and smashed them with raw power. For tougher ones and mini-bosses, I used money talks to blast through them with the Golden Torrent. I kept moving forward the whole time, killing and picking up the drops. It took a little over an hour. At the end, I hit the final boss, the Crimson Blood Mother Empress, with money talks and blew a hole through its chest. The nest collapsed. I picked up the Crimson Blood Mother Empress core that dropped, turned around, and stepped into the teleportation array. I came out of the dungeon. The 10 money ghosts were already waiting outside, each with a big bag full of materials and equipment. I opened the bags and took everything. The ghosts had taken some damage, so I dismissed them and summoned 10 new ones at full strength. I told Administrator Liu Cheng to continue. From then on, I just kept repeating the same thing. Go in, clear the dungeon, come out, collect the drops from the ghosts, dismiss them, summon fresh ones, and go again. Round after round. After 20 hours, I was really tired. My mind felt heavy. Administrator Liu Cheng suggested I take a break, but I said no, and kept going. At 8 in the morning the next day, with 1 hour left until the deadline, I stopped entering dungeons. I took all the materials and went to the task hall. I walked up to a window and told the staff I wanted to submit tasks. I asked them to show all material acquisition tasks for level 90 to 100. Then I started checking them one by one against what I had. I checked over 3,000 tasks. After I finished, I gave them my card number and told them to transfer the money there. I waved my hand and dumped all the materials on the floor next to the hall. It formed a big pile. The whole hall went quiet. I walked into the profession center and submitted all the tasks. Suddenly everyone there stopped what they were doing. All the staff and professionals froze and stared at the huge pile of materials I dropped off. They looked completely blank. Someone asked, What is this? Who moved the dungeon warehouse here? I looked at the stunned staff and said, "Please call a few more people. Finish verifying this within half an hour, then transfer the money to my account." The guy snapped out of it, his voice shaking, and said yes. He hit the emergency button right away. Soon over a dozen more staff rushed in, and they all stood there shocked, too. I didn't stick around. I had already submitted the tasks, so I left to go sell the rest of the materials. Only after I walked out did the whole hall explode with noise behind me. They were shouting stuff like, "Holy crap, a mountain of materials, and over 3,000 tasks?" and asking who I was. I got in a car and headed to the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce. I figured I should keep the benefits inside the family. I sat in the back, closed my eyes for a bit. I was pretty tired after grinding dungeons nonstop for almost 24 hours, but I still had things to do. When we arrived, I walked into the big material acquisition store they own. A young clerk came up to greet me, but then he recognized me and froze. He called me young master and asked why I was there. I said, "Selling materials, a rather large quantity." He looked surprised, but told me to go to the storage area in the back. Once we got there, I waved my hand and dropped all the materials out. Crystal cores, beast horns, ores, equipment, boss cores, herbs, everything. The storage area filled up fast, about a third of it. The clerks just stood there staring with their eyes wide. One of them asked, "Young master, are all of these for sale?" I said yes. They quickly called the store manager and all the appraisers. Everyone got to work checking the pile. 10 minutes later, the manager came over, sweating, and told me the total at market price was 350 million dragon coins. I asked if they could settle it in one lump sum. He said yes, because these were high-level materials they needed urgently, and since I was selling to our own chamber, they'd give it priority. A few minutes later, 350 million hit my account. Right after that, the Profession Center finished verifying my tasks too, and sent another 227 million. Together it was over 570 million. That was more than enough for the SSS rating, and all of it came from materials I earned myself in the dungeons. No using family assets, no gifts, no help from anyone. It followed the rules completely. I felt the tension I'd been carrying for 24 hours finally ease up a little. I told them, "Let's go," and left the store. The manager and clerks just stood there watching me walk away. Later, one of them asked if they should report it. The manager said, of course. 350 million in one go wasn't a small thing. They passed the news up to the chamber's upper management. At that point, I didn't know it yet, but back at headquarters, a whole group of executives, including department head Chen Guangmao, director Lin Man, and several level 200 job changers, had gathered in the top floor conference hall. They were waiting, ready in case I showed up. Their plan was that if I came today, they would take full control of the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce. I went to the job advancement hall at the Jiangcheng Profession Center. At headquarters, department head Chen Guangmao was sitting at the head of the conference table with some other executives. He checked the time and said Lu Fang should be arriving soon. An elder hoped I wouldn't back out. Director Lin Man said even if I tried, it was too late because the agreement was already signed. If I didn't show up today, they could declare me in breach of contract and the management committee would take over the chamber. Chen Guangmao laughed a bit and said young people always pay the price for being arrogant. Then an assistant came in and whispered to Chen Guangmao that I had gone to one of their material shops and sold a batch for 350 million. Some people looked surprised at the amount. Director Lin Man asked where I got so many materials. An elder figured it was probably leftover inventory from my parents. They thought I was selling it last minute to buy items for the duel. Chen Guangmao said 350 million was a lot, but it wouldn't help me win, and even if I bought things, I wouldn't have time to get used to them. Everyone agreed external items were just external items. Meanwhile, I arrived at the job advancement hall. It was busier than in the morning. The same staff member from yesterday saw me and stood up quickly. He asked if I was there to submit my job advancement quest. I said yes. I walked up to the big crystal and placed the quest crystal into it. The golden light inside was very dense. As soon as I put it in, the whole crystal started vibrating and a strong golden light burst out. It was much brighter than normal. The entire hall lit up like it was inside a sun. Beams shot through the roof into the sky, and the building shook a little. Everyone in the hall was shocked. People were asking what was happening and if this was an SSS evaluation. The staff member said even SS rank wouldn't shine like this and realized it really was SSS. The hall went quiet for a moment, then everyone started talking. They couldn't believe someone got SSS on a first-turn job advancement in Jiangcheng. I didn't pay attention to them. I looked at the screen. It said the quest was completed with SSS evaluation. I advanced from Tycoon to 1-star Tycoon. The level cap was removed and I got a 10 times growth multiplier. I felt satisfied. All the work paid off. Then new skills appeared. One was road buying money. It lets me spend gold coins to open a path into any dungeon, secret realm, or closed area, no matter how locked down. The note said with money, even ghosts and gods make way. This meant I could now get into the Abyss Rift where my parents disappeared without waiting for high level or permissions. The second skill was life buying money. Spend gold coins to heal injuries, restore stamina, mental energy, or life status for myself or others. The more serious the problem, the more it costs. This filled the recovery weakness I had. Before, after long grinding, I could only rest. Now I had a direct way to recover, and it could help others too. After seeing the skills, I felt sharper. The tiredness from before was gone. Everyone in the hall was still staring and talking about the SSS first turn. I ignored the looks and left. While that was going on, some people above the clouds saw the golden pillar of light from the job advancement hall. A middle-aged man in gray robes laughed hard and said I had actually succeeded. The man in black smiled too. They knew how hard the task was. 24 hours, 500 million dragon coins, all earned by myself with no family assets or help. They said I was even more impressive than they expected. The news of the SSS First Advancement spread fast from the Profession Center. People inside the hall were shouting about it. The golden light shooting into the sky. A young guy around 18 or 19 getting SSS on his first job advancement. It went out to all the teams, chambers of commerce, families, and forums in Jiangcheng. Within 10 minutes, the upper echelon of the city all knew. Everyone understood what it meant. If I didn't die, I had the potential to become someone on the level of the 3 pillars, or higher. A lot of people started asking who I was. Back at the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce headquarters in the top floor conference hall, department head Chen Guangmao and the others got the news too. At first they were talking about how to handle me when I arrived. When they heard about the SSS rating, the whole hall went quiet. Chen Guangmao stood up and asked if it was confirmed. The assistant said yes, and that many people saw it with their own eyes. Director Lin Man asked who it was. The assistant said they didn't know yet, only that it was a young professional. People in the hall got excited. Someone said if they could recruit a person like that into the chamber, it would solve their current problems and secure the next few decades. Chen Guangmao's eyes lit up, and he ordered them to investigate immediately, no matter the cost. He said they should offer resources, status, and shares to bind that person to the chamber. Everyone agreed it would give them a strong card when dealing with other forces. They got more and more excited and almost forgot about waiting for me. Chen Guangmao told them to handle it after today's matter was settled first. At the city lord's mansion, Han Qianshan and Captain Ji Shuneng were about to leave for the chamber when they heard the news. Captain Ji Shuneng told Han Qianshan that an SSS first advancement had just happened. Han Qianshan paused, then laughed and guessed it was me. They both laughed. Han Qianshan said I always managed to surprise people. They decided to head to the chamber anyway to see the executives' faces once they learned the truth. Captain Ji Shuneng joked that they were probably still trying to find and recruit that SSS genius. Soon after, their car arrived at the headquarters. The staff at the entrance got nervous when they saw the city lord and Captain Ji Shuneng. The news reached the conference hall quickly, and Chen Guangmao, Director Lin Man, and the others came down to welcome them personally. Chen Guangmao greeted them respectfully and asked why they had come. Han Qianshan told him not to be nervous. Chen Guangmao and Director Lin Man wondered if they had come to support me in the challenge today. Director Lin Man asked directly if they were there for the young master's matter. I arrived at the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce headquarters. Han Qianshan told Department Head Chen Guangmao that yes, he was there for my matter, but he wasn't going to interfere. He said since we already had an agreement, they should just follow it. He was only there to watch. Captain Ji Shuneng added that they wouldn't favor either side as long as no laws were broken and no one died. Chen Guangmao and the others relaxed when they heard that. Chen Guangmao welcomed them and led them inside. Captain Ji Shuneng whispered that it seemed they still didn't know it was me. Han Qianshan said those who should know would know soon enough. A lot of important people from Jiangcheng showed up at the spectator hall that day. Steward Zhang and Jiang Xia came, both looking worried. Wang Yiqing was there too, sitting in a corner. He had been having similar troubles with his family since his father went missing. He wanted to see if I could hold on to what my parents left behind. People in the hall were talking. Some said I probably wouldn't come, or that even if I did, it was useless because the chamber had 4 level 200 professionals. Others said I was too impulsive and should have used legal channels instead. Some felt it was understandable after what happened to my parents. Chen Guangmao smiled when he heard them. Director Lin Man checked the time and said I would be there soon. Chen Guangmao told everyone to get ready. As soon as I arrived, they should release their auras according to the agreement. One of the level 200 professionals asked if it was necessary. Chen Guangmao said even a lion uses full strength on a rabbit. Then I walked into the spectator hall. I was alone, wearing a simple black combat suit. The hall got quiet as I entered. I looked around at everyone, then at Chen Guangmao and the executives, and asked if everyone was here. Chen Guangmao smiled and said yes, everyone who should be there was, and that after today the future of the chamber would be decided. Right after he spoke, the high-level professionals on both sides opened their eyes and released their auras all at once. Dozens of strong pressures came toward me, especially from the level 200 ones. The air felt heavy and the floor shook a little. Some spectators turned pale and stepped back. A few people muttered that it was shameless to pressure me with auras before the duel even started. Jiang Xia got upset and said they were using underhanded tactics. Steward Zhang held him back. I stood there and looked at them. I took a step forward into the hall. The pressure from all those high-level professionals hit me, but it didn't slow me down. I kept walking at a steady pace until I reached the front. I stopped and looked at Chen Guangmao and the others. I asked if that was their way of welcoming me. Chen Guangmao smiled and said I had misunderstood. They just wanted to see if I was qualified to accept the challenge today. I asked if they saw clearly now. An elder next to him snorted and told me not to get cocky. He said being able to withstand the aura didn't mean I could win, and that everyone here was stronger than I thought. I asked, and so? Chen Guangmao raised his hand to stop the elder and stood up. He reminded me of the agreement. If I won, the whole chamber would obey my orders. If I lost, I would no longer interfere with its operations. I said that was correct. Director Lin Man said that to avoid damaging relations, they wouldn't send a level 200 professional first. They would send Zhou Yue, the deputy captain of the security department, who was level 150. If I couldn't get past him, there would be no need to continue. Zhou Yue stood up. He was a burly middle-aged man in heavy armor with a big war saber on his back. He walked to the center of the arena and looked at me with some condescension. He said he wouldn't take my life, only make sure I couldn't act. He drew his saber and said it was good for young people to have arrogance, but when it went too far, it was courting death. He said he would teach me a lesson on behalf of the president and his wife. I told him he was not worthy of mentioning my parents. Zhou Yue's expression darkened. He said it seemed I wouldn't give up until I saw the coffin. Then his aura erupted and he charged at me with his saber raised. I raised my hand and summoned Money Ghost. A dark golden figure appeared in front of me. Zhou Yue didn't stop. He slashed down hard. Money Ghost caught the saber with one hand, then punched him in the chest with the other. The armor caved in, bones cracked, and Zhou Yue flew backward into the barrier. He hit the ground, spat out blood, and his saber flew out of his hand. He lay there with his chest collapsed and his aura gone. The punch had almost killed him. The whole hall went silent. People were shocked that a level 150 was defeated in one move by my summoned creature, and that I hadn't even moved myself. Some realized I had held back on purpose, so he didn't die. Chen Guangmao's smile froze. Director Lin Man's eyes narrowed. The level 200 professionals looked at me seriously for the first time. I stood behind Money Ghost and looked at Chen Guangmao and the others. Next. Department head Chen Guangmao's smile disappeared completely. Director Lin Man stared at Money Ghost with clear shock. Security head Zhao Qiming's breathing paused. They realized they didn't actually understand my strength at all. Everything they had assumed was wrong. I looked at them and asked if no one else was coming. I reminded them that they had said I wasn't qualified to control the chamber. I asked if now no one was even willing to step forward. Chen Guangmao's face darkened. He knew they couldn't back down in front of everyone. He took a breath and said that since my strength was beyond what they expected, they would start the formal matches. Director Lin Man nodded. The other two level 200 professionals stood up too. There were now 4 of them: Chen Guangmao, Director Lin Man, Wu Zhao, level 207 Array Rune Master, and Shen Qinghan, level 211 Blade Shadow Controller. People in the hall started talking loudly. They said it was shameless for 4 level 200s to attack me together, but others pointed out that it showed how strong I was, since one summoned creature had already forced this. Chen Guangmao said continuing one by one would waste time. Director Lin Man added that since the agreement was for me to challenge everyone who opposed me, all 4 of them fighting at once didn't break the rules. She said it wasn't too late for me to admit defeat. I looked at the 4 of them and said they were just afraid. I pointed out that a moment ago they acted like they had already won, and now 4 of them had to come out together. Wu Zhao said verbal provocation was useless. Shen Qinghan said my summoned creature was strong, but thinking one could beat 4 level 200s was naive. I told them who said I only had 1. I raised my hand and summoned more. One after another, dark golden figures appeared until there were 10 money ghosts standing in a row in front of me. The whole hall erupted. Everyone was shocked that I could summon 10 of them. Chen Guangmao gritted his teeth and shouted to attack. The 4 of them moved at the same time. Chen Guangmao covered himself in metallic armor. Director Lin Man cast buffs on them. Shen Qinghan sent out 6 flying blades. Wu Zhao started setting up formation runes. The 10 money ghosts charged forward like silent warriors. When they collided, the protective barrier shook hard. Chen Guangmao blocked 2 but was pushed back. Shen Qinghan's blades cut them but couldn't stop them. Director Lin Man tried slowing and weakening them, but their attributes were too high. Wu Zhao's formation got crushed before it could finish. In the end, the 4 level 200 professionals were being suppressed and beaten back by the 10 money ghosts. I just stood in the same spot the whole time. Han Qianshan smiled. Captain Ji Shuneng said quietly that this was the person chosen by Tianlong and mentioned the SSS rating. I stood there while the fight continued. Chen Guangmao and the other 3 got more and more alarmed as they fought the money ghosts. They tried to focus fire on one. Director Lin Man put weakening marks on it. Shen Qinghan sliced at its joints with her blades, and Chen Guangmao punched its head. They finally destroyed one money ghost. Right after it disappeared, I raised my hand and summoned a new one in its place, fully recovered. Then I used life-buying money on the other 9. Golden light fell on them and healed all their wounds in a few seconds. It only cost a few thousand gold coins, which was cheaper than resummoning. The 4 of them looked like their minds were about to collapse. Chen Guangmao called for Wu Zhao. They told him to set up a formation while the others held the money ghosts back. Director Lin Man used big control skills, and Shen Qinghan restrained them with her blades. Wu Zhao retreated and created a large formation called Spirit Trapping Contract Severing Formation. Silver chains bound the 10 money ghosts, and a gray light curtain cut off part of my connection to them. Their movements slowed down a lot. The 4 finally got some breathing room. They were all injured and tired. Wu Zhao told me the formation had trapped my summoned creatures and severed the connection, so I had no chance of winning. Chen Guangmao and Director Lin Man told me to concede. They said I had already proven myself and that we could talk properly, but today's duel should end here. I looked at the trapped money ghosts and told Wu Zhao it was not a bad formation. Then I said who told him the formation had actually trapped them. I raised my hand and used road buying money. It cost 1 million gold coins. A golden road pattern appeared and pierced straight through the formation, connecting to the money ghosts. The formation cracked and then completely collapsed. Wu Zhao spat blood and staggered back. The 10 money ghosts were freed and charged forward again. The 4 level 200s were now being pushed back even harder. Chen Guangmao was retreating under attack from 3 of them. Shen Qinghan could barely protect herself. Director Lin Man switched to full defense. Wu Zhao was suffering from the backlash and couldn't set up another strong formation. Shen Qinghan said they couldn't continue like this and suggested attacking me directly. If they controlled me, the summoned creatures would stop. The others looked at me. I was still standing in the same spot with no money ghosts guarding me. Chen Guangmao suddenly spoke up. No! Chen Guangmao told the others not to attack me directly. He said I had been too calm from the very beginning, when the money ghosts were fighting, when the formation sealed them, and even now, I hadn't changed. He thought it didn't look like a weakness. It looked like a trap. The 4 of them felt a chill and grew heavier in their hearts. They didn't dare gamble. Chen Guangmao got knocked back by a punch from one money ghost and spat blood. He raised his hand and shouted, "Stop!" I raised my hand slightly and the 10 money ghosts stopped at once and stood still. Chen Guangmao looked at me, breathing hard. His face looked terrible, but he lowered his head and said they conceded. Director Linman, Wu Zhao, and Shen Qinghan also conceded. They knew continuing was pointless. Even if they won by attacking me directly, they would lose all face after what everyone had seen. The whole spectator hall went quiet for a second, then exploded. People were shouting that 4 level 200s had conceded, that I had won alone, and that I was only 18. Jiangxia jumped up yelling that I won. Steward Zhang straightened his back. Wang Yiqing stared at me with red eyes. Han Qianshan smiled and said, "Good lad." Captain Jishu Neng said the landscape of Jiangcheng was going to change. I said not very loudly. From now on, I have the final say in the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce. All the executives stayed silent. With 4 level 200s conceding, they had no more excuses. Then someone in the stand suddenly stood up holding a communicator and said loudly that the SSS rank first advancement professional from the Profession Center was me. The hall went quiet again, then erupted even louder. People were saying I had awakened less than a week ago, reached level 100, got SSS on first advancement, and then forced 4 level 200s to surrender. They called it absurd and said I was a monster Jiangcheng had never seen before. The way many important people looked at me changed completely. Wang Yiqing stood there in a daze and muttered that the SSS person was also me. He laughed bitterly. Chen Guangmao and the others looked like they had been struck by lightning. Director Linman's face went pale. Not long ago they had been in the conference hall saying they must find that SSS genius at any cost, recruit him, give him shares and resources, and bind him to the chamber. Now they realized that person was me, the heir they had tried to push out and had just fought against. I stood there and looked at them. Department head Chen Guangmao's face went pale. He lowered his head and said in a hoarse voice that they were wrong. After he spoke, the other high-level executives lowered their heads one by one and admitted they were wrong. They said they were blinded by greed and were willing to accept any punishment. I told them that from today on, all decision-making power in the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce would return to my hands. All the shares they held would also be voided and returned to me. They accepted it bitterly. I continued. I said the original affairs of each department would continue to operate as usual. They would keep their positions and remain responsible for what they were in charge of. The chamber could not fall into chaos. Potion workshop, equipment trading, material acquisition, security system, everything would stay the same. They were all stunned. They had expected me to remove them completely. I looked at them and said everyone here was a veteran of the chamber. For today's matter, I would only give them one chance. In the future, whoever harbored thoughts they shouldn't would not get off as easily as just admitting defeat and losing shares. The 10 money ghosts stood silently behind me as I spoke. Chen Guangmao swallowed hard, bowed his head, and said he was willing to die for me from now on. Director Lin Man, security head Zhao Qiming, Wu Zhao, Shen Qinghan, and all the other executives also expressed that their departments would obey my orders. This time they were truly convinced. Steward Zhang stood in the crowd with tears in his eyes. He said I had truly grown up and handled it like my father, only steadier. Jiangxia was excited and said he knew I was capable. The big shots in the spectator stands had complicated expressions. They said I had good temperament and that my future was limitless. Above the clouds, the middle-aged man in gray robes said I had courage, strategy, emotion, and righteousness. He asked the man in black what else he was picking about. The man in black said there was no need to pick anymore. He said I had passed the assessment. Han Qianshan and Captain Jishu Neng were about to come forward to congratulate me when they both received messages. Their expressions changed. They said there was a clue about the mole and left quickly. As Han Qianshan passed me, he patted my shoulder and said, "Well done." The other guests came up one by one to congratulate me. They said the chamber was stable now, that I was young and promising, and that we should cooperate in the future. Their attitudes were much warmer than before. After they left, I knew that from today on, my name would carry different weight in Jiangcheng's upper circles. Soon the outsiders all left. Only the internal people of the chamber remained. I sat down in the main seat, the position that used to belong to my parents. No one dared to question it anymore. I looked at Uncle Zhang. Uncle Zhang, from now on, you'll coordinate the daily management of the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce. He was surprised, but I said he had worked with my parents for many years, and I trusted him. He would watch over the department heads while they kept handling their own operations. He agreed. Chen Guangmao and the others said they would cooperate fully. I told everyone that strength was the real foundation. If I didn't have power, I wouldn't be sitting here. That's why I wouldn't spend all my time on chamber business. I needed to keep raising my strength. The chamber would provide resources, channels, and intelligence. Uncle Zhang would manage daily affairs, and they would do their jobs. They all answered firmly with no questions. Then everything in the hall suddenly froze. Uncle Zhang stayed bowed. Everyone else stopped moving. I summoned 10 money ghosts. A calm voice said, "No need to be nervous. We just stopped them temporarily. Some things aren't for too many years." I turned. 2 men had appeared. Fu Yun in gray robes and Instructor Lu Chen in black, both from Heavenly Dragon. They explained that Heavenly Dragon was the Dragon Kingdom's top special force, gathering the best geniuses in the country. Normal people, even strong ones from Zhangcheng or the 5 great academies, usually couldn't qualify. They said they had been watching me since the Blood Wolf incident. Then instructor Lu Chen said I had passed the assessment and they were inviting me to join. I didn't accept immediately. I said I had my own things to do, mainly finding my parents in the Abyss Rift. Instructor Lu Chen said I was mistaken. Heavenly Dragon was the fastest place to level up in the whole kingdom. He explained that Zhangcheng's dungeons would soon become too inefficient for me. I stayed silent. He was right. I looked at them. Fuyun said Heavenly Dragon was different. They controlled more and better dungeons of the same level. The rewards were much higher. One run in a top dungeon there could give over 10 times the experience and drops compared to normal ones. He added that members weren't stuck doing missions in a base all day. They wanted people who could grow, so there were plenty of chances to go to the front lines and even the Rift battlefield. That would actually help me find my parents faster. They also gave members a lot of free time as long as I followed the rules and didn't betray the country or leak secrets. I was tempted. It matched what I wanted. Then I asked if there was a welcome gift. Fuyun laughed hard and said I knew how to bargain. Instructor Lu Chen showed a strange expression, but didn't argue. He took out a plain-looking gray-white egg the size of a fist. It had fine moving patterns on the shell. He said it was an unformed pet egg plus 3 skill points. I got excited. Skill points were extremely rare. I had never seen any before. They explained that this pet egg was special. It had no fixed type and would evolve into the best pet for my class and power system. The potential was very high, especially for a hidden class like mine. A good pet could grow with me long-term, unlike summoned creatures. I took the egg. It vibrated slightly in my hand, like it sensed me. I said I would join Heavenly Dragon. Instructor Lu Chen gave me the 3 skill points right away. The notification appeared, and I received them. Then I asked about Jiangcheng. They said after 1 day, Lu Chen would take me away. I asked who would guard the city. Instructor Lu Chen said they would send a level 400 class changer to serve as the new pillar for Jiangcheng temporarily. I thanked him for that. Fuwen said there was a small issue in a nearby city, but I didn't need to worry. My job was to handle my personal affairs in the 1 day I had. They disappeared. Time in the hall started moving again. No one noticed anything. I stood there with the pet egg in my storage space and 3 new free skill points. I went back to the Lu family villa and sat on the bed in my room. I opened my storage space and took out the unformed pet egg. A prompt appeared saying it was hatchable if I fed it gold coins. I wasn't surprised. It matched my God of Wealth class. I started feeding it. Each time it took 100,000 gold coins. After the first 1,000,000, it only glowed a little brighter. After 2,000,000, it got a bit warm. After 5,000,000, it swayed slightly. I kept going even though it hurt. At 10,000,000, 20, 30, the patterns on the egg got brighter. At 40,000,000, a small crack appeared. At 50,000,000, the egg finally shattered. A small, fluffy orange kitten came out. It was palm-sized with a faint golden copper coin pattern on its forehead. It looked at me, meowed, then jumped onto my shoulder and rubbed against my neck. I picked it up and we stared at each other. Then its information appeared. It was called Lucky Cat. Its first ability was wealth recruitment. Once a day it could get me some gold coins, and the amount depended on how strong my commercial forces were. The second ability was treasure hunting. It could sense high-value resources nearby. I tried wealth recruitment right away. The kitten waved its paw and I got 1,000,000 gold coins. My mood improved immediately. 50,000,000 gold coins was expensive, but this was worth it. It gave me a stable way to get gold coins, and the treasure hunting would be useful in dungeons too. I rubbed its head and said, "Since you can bring in wealth, I'll call you Little Orange Cat from now on." I sat in my room with Little Orange Cat on my shoulder. It meowed and flicked its tail like it agreed with the name. I told it that whether we get rich in the future would depend on it. It looked like it took the job for granted. This made me think bigger about the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce. It wasn't just about protecting my parents' legacy anymore. I wanted to grow it into a real foundation for my God of Wealth class. The bigger my business became, the more gold coins Little Orange Cat could bring in daily. That would help me grind dungeons and get stronger, which in turn would let me protect and expand the chamber even more. It was a good cycle. I placed Little Orange Cat on the table, but it jumped right back onto my shoulder. I didn't bother moving it again. I opened my skill panel and used the 3 free skill points. I added 1 point to life buying money and upgraded it to level 2. Now it could also remove abnormal statuses. That was very useful for dungeons. I put the other 2 points into Money Makes the Devil Mill and upgraded it to level 3. The max number of money ghosts stayed at 10, and they still inherited 150% of my attributes, but now each one gained a skill slot to learn other profession skills. I decided to give them ranged abilities first to fix their main weakness. I was about to head out and continue leveling up when my communicator vibrated. It was Wang Yixing. I answered. He sounded hoarse and said he wanted to ask me for a favor. He wanted protection for the Wang family Chamber of Commerce. He knew the request was presumptuous and that I didn't owe him anything, but he was willing to pay the price. He offered deep cooperation and to give 1/4 of the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce's channels to the Fangfeng Chamber of Commerce. I told him straight up that 1/4 wasn't enough. I wanted at least half. He got tense and said half was too much. The people inside the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce would never agree to give up that many channels. I just said that was his problem, not mine. Then I explained the situation to him. After his father disappeared, the Wang family wasn't the same. The executives and partners no longer treated him like the real heir. If he didn't act now, he could lose everything. He thought about it and finally agreed to half, but he warned me there would be strong opposition inside the family. I told him to gather all the high-level executives tonight, lay out the deal, and write down the names of anyone who refused. Tomorrow morning, I would go to the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce myself and personally deal with those who didn't want to cooperate. He thanked me. I said no need. This was just a deal. After the call, I went straight to the Profession Center and spent the whole afternoon running level 100 hell difficulty dungeons. I cleared the same one 4 times. When I finished the last boss, I hit level 101. All my stats jumped by 1,000 each, now sitting at 11,950 across strength, agility, constitution, and spirit. It felt good at first, but then I realized how slow the leveling had become. 4 full hell runs just for 1 level. I asked for a level 101 dungeon, but Administrator Lu Qing said they didn't have any. In Jiangcheng, there were no dungeons between 101 and 104. The next one started at 105, so I just told him to keep setting up more level 100 hell dungeons for me. That evening, I was still in the Profession Center grinding level 100 hell dungeons. Meanwhile, over at the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce headquarters, Wang Yixing called a meeting with all the high-level executives. He sat in the main seat, his father's old spot, and told them he had decided to seek my protection. In exchange, they would merge half their channels into my Fangfeng Chamber of Commerce. The 2 sides would work together from then on, with me providing protection. As soon as he said that, everyone exploded. They said half the channels was too much, that it was the foundation the Wang family built over many years, and they couldn't just hand it over to an outsider. One senior guy, Wang Minghai, slammed the table and said he didn't agree. Others added that even though I was strong, I wouldn't stay in Jiangcheng forever to protect them, and that Wang Yixing was being too impulsive. Wang Yixing could see they were mostly worried about losing their own interests. Then suddenly there was a huge explosion in the distance. Right after that, the city alarm went off across Jiangcheng. Red warning lights started flashing everywhere. Everyone in the meeting got shocked and wondered if it was a monster invasion. The 3 level 200 powerhouses from the Wang family left immediately to check it out. The meeting stopped, and the rest of them followed emergency procedures and went into the underground shelter. What actually happened was that the Vice City Lord, Zhou Chenghai, had betrayed the city. Han Qianshan and Captain Ji Shuneng confronted him at his residence. He admitted the Blood Wolf Society had captured his wife and son, so he helped them by leaking information and tampering with dungeon nodes. When they told him to surrender, he activated some array, blew himself up, and corrupted the level 205 Black Abyss Beast Nest dungeon. Monsters started pouring out into the city. He wanted to take everyone down with him. By the time the Wang family powerhouses got there, the east side of the city had turned into a battlefield. All the strong professionals above level 200 in Jiangcheng had shown up. Skills and explosions were lighting up the whole night sky. That evening I was still grinding dungeons in the Profession Center. Meanwhile, on the east side of the city, the Vice City Lord's residence was half destroyed. A scarlet rift had opened, and hordes of corrupted abyss monsters were pouring out. Giant wolves with bone spurs, 4-armed apes, and flying ones spitting black liquid. Jiangcheng's professionals formed a defensive line, but the monsters were too strong and violent. The line was slowly collapsing. Han Qianshan and Captain Ji were fighting hard at the front, but without a pillar they could barely hold on. Then a level 300 boss, the abyss-corrupted Bone Beast King, crawled out. It smashed through the defenders and sent Han Qianshan flying. Everyone fell into despair. Just then an old man in a dark cyan robe descended from the sky. He pointed one finger, tapped lightly, and the level 300 boss instantly shattered into dust. With one wave of his hand, he wiped out most of the monster tide. He said calmly, "Qin Zhenyue, sent here as Jiangcheng's new pillar, level 400. The whole battlefield exploded in shock. All the high-ranking people from the families and chambers of commerce rushed forward to greet him and offer their full support. He turned to Han Qianshan and asked, "Where is Lu Fang?" He didn't ask about the city defense situation, didn't ask about the rift, and didn't even mention the traitor Zhou Chenghai. His first question was only about me. Han Qianshan was surprised, but answered that I was probably still inside a dungeon leveling up after finishing my Chamber of Commerce business for the day. Qin Zhenyue just nodded and then asked where my house was. When Han Qianshan offered to hold a welcome reception for him at the City Lord's mansion first and call me over later, Qin Zhenyue refused. He said no need, he would go to my home directly and wait for me there. His voice was calm but left no room for discussion. A level 400 pillar choosing to go wait at my house in person. That shocked everyone around. People started whispering immediately. They realized this wasn't a normal assignment. Qin Zhenyue probably didn't come to Jiangcheng for the city itself. He came because of me. Someone even said out loud that the government must have transferred him here specifically for Lu Fang. About an hour later, back at the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce headquarters, they were still in their meeting. Wang Yiqing was sitting in the main seat when the three most powerful executives suddenly switched sides completely. The head of security said he fully supported Yiqing and that the chamber should stay under the direct Wang family line. Another strong guy said they would cooperate unconditionally with whatever Yiqing decided. The woman in black armor added that anyone who tried to sideline Yiqing again would have to deal with her first. The executives who had been planning to oppose Wang Yiqing and take more power for themselves turned pale. They quickly started agreeing to everything, merging the channels, reorganizing the chamber, and giving Yiqing full control. No one dared to object anymore. They all knew what had happened that night. A level 400 pillar had arrived and gone straight to wait at my house. That single fact changed everything for them. They were scared that if they went against Wang Yiqing now, it would be the same as going against me. Wang Yiqing himself was sitting there feeling a bit dazed by how fast it all turned around. He realized I hadn't even needed to show up. Just the news about Qin Zhenyue was enough to solve his biggest problem. At exactly 8 p.m., I finally walked out of the dungeon through the teleportation array. Administrator Liu Cheng was waiting for me right outside. I checked my panel and saw I had only reached level 103 after grinding the whole day. I sighed a bit and said it was pretty slow. Administrator Liu Cheng looked shocked. He reminded me I had just done my first turn that morning, went from level 100 to 103 in one day, and that was actually crazy fast for anyone in Zhangcheng. Most people take weeks or even months to get one level after the first turn. He asked if I was unhappy. I told him no, it just felt slow to me. Then he said Director Ji had asked him to wait for me because the new city pillar had arrived. It was a level 400 powerhouse named Qin Zhenyue, and he was waiting for me at my house right now. I was surprised Tianlong had sent someone so strong so quickly. I didn't waste time and told him to take me home. The car was already ready. When I got to the villa, Uncle Zhang was waiting outside. He told me Senior Qin was in the living room. I walked in and saw the old man sitting there in a dark Taiyan robe, drinking tea. He looked calm and steady, like a mountain. We greeted each other. He introduced himself as Qin Zhenyue, sent to be Zhangcheng's new pillar. I cupped my hands and said I had heard of him before from my parents. He had guarded the northern frontier for many years and fought in big rift battles. He looked at me with appreciation and said heroes come from the young. Being 18 with an SSS rank first turn was great for Zhangcheng. I said he was too kind. Then his voice got softer and he told me I could go to Tianlong without worrying. He would guard Zhangcheng for me. As long as he was here, the city wouldn't fall into chaos. He said he was old now and couldn't fight on the front line anymore, but protecting a city was something he could still do for the Dragon Kingdom. I thanked him seriously and said I would leave Zhangcheng in his hands. Right then, he coughed a couple times. I noticed a strange gray color flash across his face. I asked if he was injured. He said it was an old problem from the front line, residual abyssal corrosion from fighting an abyssal lord years ago. Even level 500 healers couldn't fully cure it, only suppress the symptoms. I thought for a moment. After my life-buying money skill reached level 2, it could clear abnormal statuses. I told him I could try to fix it. He was surprised but didn't refuse. He warned me not to get my hopes up since I was only first turn. I said it was worth a try anyway. I walked up to him, raised my hand, and activated life-buying money. A message popped up saying it would cost 3 million gold coins to clear the high-level abyssal corrosion. It was expensive, but I figured it was worth it for a level 400 pillar who had protected so many people before. I confirmed it. A pale golden light like flowing coins poured out from my palm onto him. His calm expression suddenly changed. He clearly felt the abyssal corrosion in his body starting to come out. The gray-black energy was pulled straight out of his flesh, meridians, and bones by the golden light. He looked down and saw the corruption leaving his fingertips and disappearing. When the golden light faded, Qin Zhenyu stood there quietly for a long time. Then he checked his body and realized the corrosion that had troubled him for many years was completely gone. He looked at me with shock and asked if I had really cured it. Uncle Zhang was stunned too. He couldn't believe I fixed an injury that even level 500 healers couldn't remove. Qin Zhenyu bowed to me seriously and thanked me. He said I didn't understand how much that wound had held him back all these years. It weakened him every time he used his power and forced him to retire from the front lines. I told him there was no need to bow. He said what I cured wasn't just his injury, but also removed the last regret of his life. Then he smiled and said he had been thinking about what gift to give me. Now he knew what to do. He took out an old dark gold medal engraved with the Dragon Kingdom's emblem. It was the highest honor he received after the Northern Rift campaign. He said he wasn't giving it to me just for the honor, but also because it contained a one-time defensive skill that could block an attack from a level 500 powerhouse. I tried to refuse because it was too valuable and was his life-saving trump card, but he insisted and put it in my hand. He said he would be guarding Zhangcheng from now on, so he didn't need it anymore. I was going to Tianlong and would face more dangerous places, so it would be more useful with me. He told me to accept it as a meeting gift from an elder and as the expectation of an old soldier. I stayed silent for a few seconds, then put the medal away and bowed to him. I thanked him and said I would remember this gift. He smiled and said he was the one who should be thankful. After that, Shingenyu didn't stay long. Once the corrosion was gone, he looked much more energetic, like he had become decades younger. He left the villa with strong steps and disappeared into the night. Uncle Jong stood beside me and said quietly that a person like Senior Chin deserved respect. I nodded. With Shingenyu guarding Jiangcheng and Uncle Jong managing the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce, I felt much more at ease about leaving the city. I wouldn't have to worry too much about things back home. Then my communicator rang. It was Wang Yiqing. He said the matter with the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce was already settled. I was surprised it went so fast. He explained that news about Shingenyu had spread. Everyone knew the new level 400 pillar had arrived and went straight to my house. Because of that, the high-level executives suddenly changed their attitude and stopped opposing him. I told him that was good and there was no need for me to go there tomorrow. Wang Yixing sounded a bit speechless for a moment, then gave a bitter laugh and said he found it harder and harder to understand me. I said it was normal. I told him to take firm control of the Wang Family Chamber of Commerce and contact Uncle Zhang directly for future cooperation. Uncle Zhang would handle overall coordination for the Fangfang side. Wang Yiqing agreed seriously. I gave him a few simple instructions and hung up. Uncle Zhang, who was listening, said he would personally handle the connection with the Wang family. I thanked him for the trouble. He replied that it was his duty to guard the chamber for me. That night, many people in Jiangcheng couldn't sleep well. The Fangfang Chamber of Commerce had been reshuffled, a new level 400 pillar had arrived, and the Wang family's attitude had changed completely. One thing after another made the upper class realize that a new era had begun in the city. That morning, I woke up and poked Little Orange Cat. I told it time to work. It waved its paw lazily and used wealth recruitment. I got 1.3 million gold coins. That was up from 1 million yesterday, thanks to the Wang family channels. I rubbed its head and said it did well, so extra food today. It perked up right away. I finished handling the last few matters at home. Uncle Zhang followed me quietly most of the morning, then finally asked if going to the special forces would be dangerous. I said there might be danger, but there would be more opportunities. He nodded and told me my parents would be proud. They always wanted me to walk my own path. He just asked me to protect myself. I said I would. At noon, Instructor Lu Chen appeared outside the villa. He said before we leave, we needed to see someone. We teleported straight to a courtyard behind the city lord's mansion. It was Senior Chin. Instructor Lu Chen told me Qin Zhenyue had been his university teacher. When we entered, Qin Zhenyue was practicing in the yard. He looked much better than last night. He greeted Lu Chen casually, calling him a stiff brat. Lu Chen showed him respect anyway. Qin Zhenyue asked me how I slept and if I was sad to leave home. I said it was fine. Then Lu Chen noticed his injury was completely gone and looked shocked. Qin Zhenyue told him I had healed it last night with a skill. Lu Chen asked if I could really clear high-level abyssal corrosion. I said I had a skill for abnormal statuses. Lu Chen thanked me personally for healing his teacher. I said it was nothing. Senior Qin was a hero who had protected Jiangcheng. Qin Zhenyue gave me some advice about Sky Dragon and told me not to disgrace Jiangcheng. I promised I wouldn't. Before we left, Qin Zhenyue said he would wait for me to become a super powerhouse one day. We said our goodbyes, and Instructor Lu Chen took me and flew straight up into the sky. That same moment, the wind roared in my ears. I felt nothing under my feet as Jiangcheng shrank fast below us. The city lord's mansion, the profession center, the Fangfang Chamber of Commerce headquarters, and my family villa. All the places I grew up with turned into blurry shapes in just a few seconds. Instructor Lu Chen had some kind of spatial barrier around us, so I didn't feel the strong wind or falling sensation. Little Orange Cat was gripping my collar tightly with its paws, tail stiff, looking scared. I patted its head and told it not to panic. It just buried its face deeper into my collar. I asked Senior Lu where we were going. He said we were first stopping at a few universities to pick up other new recruits like me, some students from the 5 grade academies who passed the Qianlong selection, plus one genius from another school. I got a bit curious about their level. In Jiangcheng, getting into one of the 5 grade academies was huge news, but here they were just another batch of newcomers. Lu Chen told me not to feel inferior about coming from Jiangcheng. Qianlong only cares about strength, potential, combat achievements, and value, not background. I said I wasn't feeling inferior, just interested in how strong the others were. He said I'd see soon enough. After we picked everyone up, we would head to the Qianlong training camp. All new selected professionals go through initial training there first. He reminded me not to hold back in the camp. I had to fight for resources. The better I performed, the more support I would get. I said I understood. Then we stepped through a spatial ripple and appeared above a much bigger city. The profession center there was way larger than Jiangcheng's, and I could see several high-level dungeon entrances outside the city walls. We landed on the roof of a tall building where a tall, sturdy guy around 20 was already waiting. He had a black and red combat suit and a big knife on his back. His name was Shen Jinglei, a sophomore from Tianzi Academy. He looked pretty arrogant. He noticed me and asked if I was also joining the training camp this batch. I said yes. He asked which academy I was from. When I told him I hadn't started university yet and was just a high school senior from Jiangcheng, he was completely shocked. He asked if I was serious. A high school senior getting taken by Tianlong directly. He even asked instructor Lu Chen if I was a connection hire. Lu Chen coldly said Tianlong doesn't do that. Shen Jinglei got even more curious and asked about my talent, but Lu Chen told him not to pry into other people's professions. We picked him up and continued. Shen Jinglei kept talking the whole way. He was very confident and told me about how he fought his way through the 100 Academy War, beating sophomores from the 5 grade academies even though he came from a regular school. That performance got Tianlong's attention. He said he fought his way here. Then he introduced himself again and suggested we form an alliance. I raised an eyebrow and asked what kind of alliance. Shen Jinglei nodded and said, after we entered the training camp, there would be a lot of competition. The people from the 5 grade academies were all arrogant, and he hated that. He suggested we team up and crush them together. I asked if we could kill people in the training camp. He said he just meant beat them until they submit and avoid us. I told him we'd see, since I didn't know the details yet. He agreed that made sense, then said if the 5 grade academies targeted me, I could come to him for help. He patted his chest and said he would cover me in the camp. Instructor Lu Chen gave him a cold look that made him shut up for a moment. We flew to Genuan Academy. 8 students were waiting in the central square. As soon as Shen Jinglei saw them, he started provoking them, saying Tianlong knew Genuan needed to be beaten first. The Genuan students got angry. The black-armored leader and Shen Jinglei exchanged sharp words. One girl said he was just lucky with timing. Shen Jinglei laughed and said at the same age he would crush them. Their auras flared up and it looked like they were about to fight. Instructor Lu Chen told them to stop. There would be plenty of chances to fight inside the training camp. Anyone who delayed now could go back. They quieted down. On the rest of the trip, Shen Jinglei provoked every academy we visited. Tianwu University, Star Academy, Shenji Institute, and Holy Spirit Academy. He kept making sharp comments about their strengths and weaknesses. I stayed quiet and even moved a bit away from him. But he kept moving closer, so everyone thought we were together. When the 5 grade academy students asked who I was, Shen Jinglei immediately pointed at me and said I was Lu Fang, a high school senior from Jiangcheng who got pre-selected by Tianlong before even graduating. Everyone went quiet and stared at me with shock and suspicion. I looked at Shen Jinglei without expression. This guy didn't just attract hatred for himself. He dragged me into it too. The short-haired girl from Genuan Academy sneered and said, Shen Jinglei wasn't even as good as me, since I got picked up by Tianlong in high school, while he only made it in his sophomore year. Several others joined in with amusement. Shen Jinglei didn't get embarrassed. He openly admitted I was more outrageous than him, but said at least he was stronger than all of them. That made everyone's auras flare up again. Instructor Lu Chen stopped and warned that if they kept talking nonsense, he would throw them all down. Everyone shut up immediately. We continued flying over wilderness until Instructor Lu Chen stopped in midair. He took out a silver token with a golden dragon on it. The void rippled and a massive portal appeared, leading to a separate world. We stepped through. Inside was a vast space with a starry sky and a golden dragon shadow above. There were tall towers, floating dungeons, and strong energy everywhere. The gravity on the black metal plaza felt heavier. A huge 3-meter-tall man was waiting for us. His name was Instructor Xia Ji, level 600, Thunder Titan class. The moment he said his level, everyone was shocked. A level 600 powerhouse was personally instructing us. He told us to drop our arrogance. Tianlong had plenty of geniuses, and just being top in our academies wasn't enough. Then he showed a light screen with a level 400 hell difficulty dungeon. He said the graduation requirement was to solo clear it within 10 years. If we failed, we would be eliminated. A girl from Holy Spirit Academy whispered that 10 years might not even be enough. Someone next to her agreed it definitely wouldn't be for most people. This was basically raising venomous insects. Shen Jinglei licked his lips and said it was interesting. This was more like Tianlong. Instructor Xiaji told us the camp had the best resources in the Dragon Kingdom. Training towers, secret realms, mentors, forging rooms, everything. But nothing was free. We had to spend Tianlong points. He showed us the prices. Training towers cost 10 points per hour, mentors 50, rare scrolls starting at 300. He warned us to cherish every point. Then he said we would do a baseline test right away. It was our first chance to earn points. Score from 0 to 100, and we get that many points. Everyone got excited and competitive. Someone asked if the test was fair since levels were different, and glanced at me. Instructor Xiaji said the test adjusted difficulty by level and evaluated overall performance. Shen Jinglei suddenly grinned and made a big bet. Whoever ranked below him would owe him 10 points each, and he would pay 50 to anyone above him. The 5 great academies got angry and accepted. Then I stepped forward and said I wanted to join the bet too. They mocked me for being a high school student and said it wouldn't be honorable to bully me. I told them if they didn't dare, just say so. That pissed them off. The black-armored guy changed the rules so I wouldn't have to pay if I lost. I refused and said we keep it fair. If I lose, I'll pay 50 points to each of them. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy. Shen Jinglei laughed and said I had guts.